and welcome back to Constellation Station. Here at Constellation Station, we like to do three things. We like to learn a little bit about constellations, figure out where we can find them up in the night sky, and then make constellations here in our own home. I'm Nicole from the Cincinnati Observatory, and today our constellation is really exciting. It's maybe one of my favorite constellations because this constellation really got me first excited about learning about constellations. Now, if you remember from last week, we talked about King Cepheus, and he kind of looks like an upside down house. And we have a similar situation with our constellation today, Queen Cassiopeia. Now, Queen Cassiopeia, just like King Cepheus last week, has a weird shape that doesn't really look like it's supposed to look. So, for some help today, I have a little crown up here to remind us that this constellation is supposed to be royalty. It's a queen. So we have a crown up here, and I want you to maybe try to figure out the shape of our stars today. We have 5 stars. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our 5 stars, if we maybe connect the dots, they're going to make a certain shape that makes it really recognizable up in the night sky. But then we have to use our imagination to picture this as a queen. So let's go ahead and start connecting our dots. So today I wanted to use a new material. So this is tissue paper, and we're going to use this tissue paper to connect our dots of our constellation. So I cut little strips out of the tissue paper. I thought this might be a good thing because you might have this laying around at home. You could definitely use tissue paper. It's very lightweight, which makes it easy to use no matter what kind of constellation station you have. And now we are going to connect the dots using this tissue paper. So we're going to start actually down at the bottom. So this is Cassiopeia's head up here, but we're going to start down at her feet. So she is supposed to be kind of sitting in a chair, which I think takes a lot of imagination, but if we use our observational skills to see the shape of this constellation, it may help us then use our imagination to picture this as a queen sitting on her throne. So our first 2 stars are connected. Next we have these 2 stars to connect. I'm using masking tape to connect our tissue paper to our stars. Next piece is a little bit longer than the last piece. Luckily, this is a very simple one, and maybe you can start to see what shape that this constellation is going to make. Just one more piece of tissue paper to finish connecting our dots here. There we go, we have our last bit of tissue paper connected, and now we can start to see a kind of zigzag shape. And right now the zigzag kind of looks like a normal zigzag, but if you kind of turn a little bit to the side, you can see that it looks a little bit like a W. Or if you look like this, it looks a little bit like an M. So what you want to look for up in the night sky is actually a letter, the letter M or the letter W, depending on which way you're looking at it. So even though this looks like a W or looks like an M, remember, it's not. It's how we have our crown here. It's supposed to be a queen sitting on her throne. So the nice thing about this W is it maybe does help us picture a chair a little bit. So her legs are supposed to go all the way down here. We have her head up there, and we can picture her maybe sort of sitting a little bit on her side on a chair. So it takes a little bit of imagination to picture this. But if you use your constellations and maybe add some special features like a crown, it can maybe help you figure out what this constellation is supposed to be. So I challenge you guys to look up pictures of Cassiopeia and see if you can find different pictures of her sitting on her throne. Sometimes during the year she's even upside down. She's sitting on her throne upside down, and we'll see that a little bit later once we get into wintertime. So now where can you find this constellation up in the night sky? We can find this constellation in the northeastern sky around 9 o'clock at night. Now we're going to use a very special star that we've talked about on the program in the past to help us find this constellation. I want you to remember back to our summer triangle. Our summer triangle was made up of 3 bright stars, and maybe the brightest of those stars was the star Vega. Vega is a really bright blue star that we could see in the eastern sky more during the summer, and now that we're going into the fall, we see it in the northeastern sky. So if you can find the summer triangle, find Vega, the brightest one at the tippy top, and look right below Vega in the northeastern sky. We can start by this star right here, and then make our zigzag pattern once we get closer to the horizon. So Vega will be pretty high up in the sky. You want to look down close to the horizon, and then look for our zigzag W or zigzag M pattern to be able to find Cassiopeia. Another exciting thing about Cassiopeia is that constellations we know have been used in pop culture for a really long time, and Cassiopeia is a especially popular one to use because remember, Cassiopeia was a queen of Ethiopia, and she thought that she was the most beautiful person and even prettier than all of the gods. So she's a very iconic character in Greek mythology, and her character in Greek mythology has just grown since then to where now we have a lot of pop culture references of Cassiopeia as well. So I also want you to go and see if you can find different pop culture references to all of our constellations, but especially Cassiopeia. I hope you have fun making this constellation at home, and be sure to share any pictures that you guys take with us on Facebook or Instagram and #ConstellationStation. We'll see you guys next time.